All right, ladies and gentlemen, Whimpering Wastes, Wuthering Waves' newest endgame mode, has been out for quite a while now, a couple of days, and it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room that I want to talk about today is none other than the newest character, Phoebe. And let me be honest when I say that Phoebe is really bad in this game mode. And today we're going to be diving into all of the different reasons why. And so if you're familiar with Whimpering Waves, you've had a couple of rounds of it. What's clear about this game mode is that it is heavily focused on AoE. It's heavily focused on things like crowd control. It's focused on multi-wave content, clearing all of these waves as fast as possible to get the most number of points and get all of these rewards over here and all the asteroid. This is going to be the hardest stage. We took a look at some of the enemies, and now it's time to talk about why Phoebe is, in my opinion, one of the worst characters you could possibly use in this type of content. The reason for that is pretty simple. You can see that my Phoebe is quite well built. She's ready to deal a ton of damage, you know, synergizes very well with the critical rate in all the different sets. And the problem with Phoebe is that, well, her absolution state, which you can find on her forte circuit, right? You cast this absolution litany, deal a ton of damage, and then you deal even more damage with your special heavy attacks, Star Flash. The problem with Phoebe is this move over here. She simply cannot deal any damage at all unless the targets have Spectral Frazzle on them. She goes ahead, and if the targets don't have that debuff, she deals a measly 240% in motion value. And if they do have the Frazzle debuff on them, the skill gains 256% damage amplification. Guys, 256% damage amp is a fucking lot. And if you don't have that debuff available and that amp available, her attacks basically deal no damage at all. You might be thinking that she's good in the game mode anyways, right? Because she does things like CC. She has a stagnation effect for 2 seconds. She deals all of this damage in an AoE when her lights refract from her basic attacks. And she has a big burst, right? That is multiplied by 255% when she's using her Absolution mode Liberation. All of the pieces of the pie seem to be there for this character. But the problem is that her sustained damage requires that Spectral Frazzle debuff. And there's really only one character in the game, Spectral Rover, who's actually able to team up with her and apply that debuff at the same time. The problem is, ladies and gentlemen, this content is multi-wave. This content, once you clear one wave of enemies, the next will spawn. And you want to know what happens when that next wave spawns? You spent all of this time applying the debuffs, dealing your burst damage, and then wiping the waves. The next one spawns, and none of them have the Spectral Frazzle debuff. None of them have the debuff. And so you have to go back to your Spectral Rover, reapply it to whoever you can actually reach with the low range of their skill. Maybe you have their Liberation up and you're able to tag all of the enemies. But the problem is that it's super clunky. You're pretty much guaranteed to not actually apply the debuff to everybody. And the playstyle requires a lot of swaps that you kind of don't really need in the TOA, where Phoebe is a lot stronger, or in holograms where Phoebe is a lot stronger. And the end result is that half of the enemies will get tagged, half of the enemies will have a debuff, and it's a bit of an issue. So you don't have to take my word for it. I'm just going to put a dummy team over on this side, and we'll show you all firsthand just how clunky the entire experience is. Let me just touch up my Phoebe echoes real fast, and we'll get right on into it. Let me just swap in this one. There we go. I've also got her signature, so really there's no excuses here for her performance. And we also have the unique spectral damage increasing token that works with the infliction of Spectral Frazzle. So let's get right on into it. And so now that we're in game, it's time to talk a little bit about how your clears are going to go with this character. They're going to start off really, really strong, right? You're going to cast Phoebe's skill, do a lot of CC, start rotating across your team, apply all those debuffs, apply all that frazzle, right? And it seems like it's pretty good. It seems like it's pretty good. Unfortunately, as you're starting to see over here, I don't have the debuff available. And now I have to go ahead, go back to Spectral Rover, reapply the debuff, but it's not even on half of the enemies right now. And this is where the clears just get so clunky and feel really bad. She's not really dealing any damage, again, unless the Spectral Frazzle debuff is on the units. And it just doesn't work out really well. even though she's able to deal a ton of burst damage, right? When those buffs are available, and her outro skill is great, right? You have to swap between these two. And the end result is that, well, in this scenario, right, I didn't tag those two because they went behind me. And now the clear is basically a complete nightmare. The clear is basically a complete nightmare. And the amount of complexity that's required to play this character properly, it's a far cry from basically every other person on the roster. And it feels really clunky. It has a lot of annoyances.
Moment of resonance.
And then you weave in your outro skill healer into the mix. And it just gets a little bit rough. The main combo that you're going to have is using Phoebe's resonance skill to group up all the enemies in the center, right? And then use Spectral Rover to apply the debuff. And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, it's super clunky. And without the ability to apply Spectral Frazzle from off-field, it feels like Phoebe is actively struggling in every single way possible. You could try to maybe remedy this by taking Verena out and putting in another grouper instead, but you all saw that situation where I used Spectral Rover's Resonance skill and the enemies actually aren't in range, and it's rough. Let's give it another try playing a little bit more sweaty with this comp. Let's try to be a little bit more sweaty with it, optimize everything that we can, and then see how it goes.
Swift and resolute. No hesitation. One with the sound.
Sentinel protection. Judgment time. Together we stand. Silence. In the name of Imperator.
Strike in the shadows. Moment of resonance.
Answer me. Luminous energy.
Swift and resolute. I sense your weak one with the sound.
Yeah, this one is it's getting really rough here. We got a little bit of grouping in, but this is where it just gets insane to try to play her.
The hour is upon us.
This is where it gets insane trying to play this character. Like, the enemies are like spawning in one by one. Some of them have frazzle, some of them don't. Ah, it's a disaster. It's a complete disaster. And they're living for so long when it feels like they really shouldn't be. Phoebe's outro skill does help like clear a lot of like the trash waves. But it's just the damage is not there unless the frazzle debuff is on them.
I sense your weakness.
Answer me.
It's just not there.
Together we stand.
Swift and resolute. Strike in the shadows.
Yeah, I mean, I think 1.8k is probably the best it's going to be for this side. I thought I played that pretty decently. I thought I was going through, I was swapping to reapply it. I was using the ultimate to kind of clear some waves. And guys, if a team is scoring 1700 or 1800 with that much mechanical input and this much investment in the characters too, I just don't think it's going to happen. I just really don't think this is going to happen. You will need another team to carry the shit out of this one if you're trying to get the full rewards. I actually do believe that 4-star compositions using characters like a Yang Yang, using characters like a Dan Jin, pretend this is Havoc Rover, using stuff like this actually feels better. It actually feels more comfortable. My recommendation is, unless you have a Spectral Frazzle off-field applier, this character is always going to feel clunky and not really good, even at full investment, even with her best-in-slot team. There's just too much stuff going on in this game mode, too many downsides with running her team comp with Spectral Rover for it to work out well for you. And my suggestion to Kuro Games to make Phoebe, the on-banner character, actually feel playable is to change this token completely. Instead, it should read that enemies spawn with 5 stacks of Spectral Frazzle and have a minimum stack of 1, where Spectral Frazzle will never actually disappear on them. They'll come in with multiple stacks, and that ensures that Phoebe can actually deal damage in the Absolution state and doesn't necessarily need to be quick swapping to Spectral Rover across every single wave that appears after she's destroying them. Because in the current state, with how the cooldowns line up, with how low range Spectral Rover's skill is, there's so much room for stuff to go wrong that the character is one of the worst you can use. And this is the other thing. There should also be a drifting token of some kind, right? One that is permanently usable, that simply has that buffed effect, and then maybe instead it just says enemies spawn with 1 stack of Spectral Frazzle that cannot disappear. And then the gold one is a supercharged version, right? That makes them spawn with like 5 or 10. In the current state, guys, she needs a lot of help. She needs a ton of things to feel good to use in this game mode. And the fact of the matter is that, let's be honest, guys, the on-banner character should be feeling good in the endgame mode that they're released with. And unfortunately, Phoebe kind of just is one of the worst feeling limited characters. She's on banner and she's one of the worst feeling limited characters in the game mode. And that is a bit of a massive, massive miss on Kuro's end. So hopefully you all saw from a bit of the gameplay, for the explanation of the character kits, where the big issues are. You could say it's skill issue, but let's just say at the end of the day, guys, the amount of work that you need to put into your Whimpering Wastes clears to make her actually work, it's a little disgusting. And it's way higher than a lot of other limited characters and even standard characters on the roster, and even the 4-stars too. And that's not really something that we should want for a character like this. Let me know what you all think. Peace out.